So, you were all gathered together in La Marasma. You were summoned to the estate of Lady Philomena Straub. Lady Straub had a job that she needed you to complete discreetly. She needed you to get a hold of one Jessa Odziri. Her lover, yes. So that the two of them could leave La Marasma under the radar, so to speak, and live together happily away from the prying and judgmental eyes of the fellow noble houses and the La Marasma culture, society, authorities, etc., etc. The reason being that Jessa Odziri is a Dampier, right? The ratios are not necessarily equal, but part human, part vampire, a hybrid creature, right? At the same time, Lady Straub is suffering from a mysterious wasting ailment that she has previously said has been running in her family for quite some time. And that is putting a hard deadline on her time left on this earth, and so she wants to spend the rest of it with Jessa and encourage you to go, in your guise as normal people, simpler people, to go out and retrieve Jessa, bring her back so that the two of them can leave. So...
And La Marasma, I don't know if you've listened to the recordings at all, Robert.
No.
Dampier and are viewed as kind of not subhuman, maybe a subhuman.
They're monsters. They're shoot on sight,
shoot on sight
These
type
are
thing.
not.
Yeah.
Because they feed on mortal blood.
Mm-hmm.
So you all took the job.
So I'm fine.
Yeah, you're fine.
At the same time, Kyoko here was investigating a lead on a series of break-ins going on in Coldcrest in the Noble District, a series of robberies, specifically by a goblin safecracker called Dressed Up Drebma. And apparently, fortuitously enough, or unfortunately enough, Drebma had hit Lady Straub's manor about a week earlier. And so the investigation began of trying to see what was going on with Drebma's burglaries of the various noble estates and whether or not that was connected to anything that Lady Straub was doing and her ongoing relationship with Jessa, etc., etc. Through the course of the search and the investigation, the party determined that Jessa did not want to return to Lady Straub. She had intimated that Lady Straub had wanted Jessa to bite her and possibly transmit this vampirism to her as a means of curing her wasting ailment. And Jessa staunchly refused to do that to her out of a sense of morality, nobility. She essentially didn't want to curse her to that life. In the meantime, she also didn't. At the same time, she also did not want to spend time with Lady Straub, essentially watching her wither away and die. And so she thought it was best that she simply disappear, and for Lady Straub, with her remaining time, to sort of either move on or come to a sense of closure about the relationship, rather than having to have this constant argument about to or to not curse her with this vampirism, right? After this conversation was had, a group of goblins, including Dressed Up Drebma, attempted to kidnap Jessa Odziri with a special vampire catching device.
Grappling hook.
Yeah, essentially like a giant grappling hook of sorts. That attempt was foiled by the party. Drebma was severely wounded in the left hand with a dagger and bound and taken back to the La Marasma Police Department, where he is currently being interrogated by Marshal Ersatz rather aggressively over the period of 6 hours.
Is that what we're going to
So-
call it? Aggressive interrogation?
Yeah.
It's not quite enhanced,
Yeah, it's not enhanced interrogation.
but it's pretty close.
Yeah. Now, in the course of this action, some other complicating factors have arisen. There was a point in which the party had to prevent a three Kreen from being strung up and essentially lynched by a group of cultists from the Sunstroke Creed. You'll remember it's a hard, like a.
Human first.
I think it's a hard human first organization, fundamentalist that believes in purifying La Marasma by eliminating all non-human species that live there.
They do have a fair amount of power, though, right? It's not like...
They aren't a fringe society. They have some clout, some money. They quote unquote control a decent portion of Okerland, the sort of mercantile district of La Marasma, and so
Do they do it openly, or like kind of undercover, but everyone agrees that it's
everyone
theirs?
knows that they are a cult. Everyone knows that they are doing shady, sometimes actively hateful, murderous things. But at the same time, in classic sort of, you could probably compare this to the Scientologists, right? There's not really enough evidence there, plainly, legally, to do anything about it. And there are issues of, freedom of religion and speech and so on. And so the La Marasma Police Department and the citizenry just have to sort of deal with them. Ideally hoping that they will not grow to a point that they will become a major player in the society and politics of the city. Right?
Sure, because that could never happen.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Ever.
And
Why
this-
worry about
This is
it?
a fantasy
But
tale. So that,
also, I think they just have supporters.
Probably
Like, there
in
are
high
enough
places.
enough racists to
Mhm.
be like, yeah, they're doing good stuff.
exactly.
We'll just look the other
There's
way.
a portion
Yeah.
of the citizenry that is maybe not necessarily, ready to march down to the Sunstroke Creed headquarters and put on some robes and start lynching Free Creed.
Right.
But certainly they're like, we don't like that these, like, Plantkin or Three Kreen or hell, even like, half elves or whatever are living in our city. Like, that's too much for us. We'd rather have humans in our neighborhood. That sort of soft,
Right.
Societal
agreeable,
Mhm.
quote unquote,
Mhm.
racism,
Right.
that is sort of enabling them to flourish.
My twin brother is one of the members.
Yes, Laris's twin brother,
Oh, by the way,
Liam, is a member of the Sunstroke Creed, as his their father, who's the Reverend, the sort of spiritual leader of the cult.
Of course, none of us know this.
Nope.
None of you will soon.
Oh, I'm
You will
sure.
in just a second.
Yeah, once you shoot someone.
Yes. And so that has complicated factors, especially in Poxborough, where the police have sort of turned a blind eye to the goings-on, and it sort of functions more like a frontier town in that it's meant to sort of police itself. It's the industrial poor district. It is the dregs of Victorian London circa 1890. Lots of oil and consumption and smog and smoke and that sort of thing.
Mm.
Gotta love that whale oil.
I was just thinking
Yes.
the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that in mind,
Anyone ever smelled whale oil burning?
I don't think I want to.
I'm curious.
with that in mind, you had all returned to a local tavern in Poxborough
With Jessa.
called the Half Cocked with Jessa in order to sort of keep her protected for the time being until you could figure out an exit strategy for her or simply what to do in the case of her and Lady Straub. You had woken up in the morning, you and Jessa had gone downstairs and found that 3 representatives of the Sunstroke Creed were there downstairs in the drinking dining area, one of whom was your father, the Reverend Cornelius Callock.
And I immediately drew my gun and leveled it at him.
So that's where we are now. Does anybody have any questions before?
I have couple.
Okay,
That's fair.
I may or may not be able to answer that.
Because I listened to the last episode, and I
Mhm.
figured that neither me, Kyoko, or our missing friend
Karaka.
had a long rest
Yeah,
for
we had,
last 2 days.
we had just come back and we
Yeah.
are exhausted.
I haven't had one yet either.
Yeah,
The only one who has, I think, is Laris.
yeah.
And Jessa.
Because you and Jessa had bumped up.
And the next question is,
We work hard at
did I leave Theodore with Marshall?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, because he was the chair.
Damn
That's right.
Because he was functioning as a restraint.
Yeah.
You'll have to go back and get them.
That's gonna be a problem for me.
We got to pick him up in the morning.
Sure.
Eh.
Well, it is the morning now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now-ish.
Okay.
But no one else is downstairs except me and Jessa.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So
Well,
we're-
it's you,
I am too.
Jessa, Ragram, and you were there as well. Right? I guess right because you were holding a sort of
Yeah, you were
sentry
holding the
position
vigil,
outside.
yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Jessa and I slept.
Yeah. Like, so when you heard the bang downstairs, y'all went down the stairs and I came down through the front door.
Exactly. You found an overturned table
Right.
and two cultists and the Reverend there, who then pulled down his hood and revealed himself.
Hello, daughter.
Oh my.
So not everybody knows.
Give it time.
I know now.
You at least know there's
I'm
bad blood.
surprised.
Yeah.
So we're picking up right from there.
So we're picking
Either
up
she's
right
his daughter
there
or
where we
she's a
stopped.
liar.
So I have my gun level at him.
So,
I have the little